Hello everyone, how are you? This nice balmy day here in New York City. Me trying to walk around with one leg, but I actually have more strength than Michael Bloomberg right now. Michael Bloomberg, a very interesting thing. And people were wondering why I said that he had something to do with my father in his federal case about a decade ago, and a little bit more than a decade. Uh, Mike Bloomberg is a Republican. He's not a Democrat. Okay, he's he's a Republican, and he's trying to buy out that Democratic Party. But when he was New York City mayor, he had a deputy named Dan Doctoroff. And then he had a New York City Department of Investigations commissioner, Rose Gilhern. And basically what happened was that they brought her over, and then she investigated my father and a few not-for-profits, that because my father was fighting the Bush administration, then Bush 43, for the FCC merger proposed with Univision and Clear Channel. That's what that was all about. So what they did was they went and they sent, that woman, and they came out with some fabricated story that he took money, but the feds were going after my father. But his administration was part of that. So I always told people that no matter what, I was always going to make sure that for his arrogance, that he was me and him would meet in a certain way. Now, I don't really have to do anything to him because he's just an idiot. Okay, he's trying to run, and then he had to apologize for the stop and frisk. He's a very racist Jew. I got to tell you something. Jews are very racist people. There's only a handful of them that are actually into the integrated, diverse network. He's a cliche racist Jew, and it's going to show in this campaign that he's trying to mount for president, but he will lose to Trump. I actually guarantee he will lose, because an arrogant Jew will not get minorities to vote for him. Eventually, what it's going to come down to is that he's going to be on the stage, on the debate, and they're going to rip him for the stop and frisk. The stop and frisk nullifies his chance to become president. I'm going to tell you why. When stop and frisk was created, he basically piggybacked off of the Giuliani administration's John Maples broken windows strategy. He did Giuliani actually was the one who fought crime, not Bloomberg. Bloomberg didn't really fight crime. What Bloomberg did was used it as an excuse to go after blacks. Now, I'm watching these elected officials around the country, and a lot of them are idiots. Okay, because if your people are telling you that they were discriminated upon, why are you taking a Jew's money? Because basically, what I want people to understand is that they're just taking the money, and they're not really understanding that when you take the money, you're basically going against your constituents. So black men are going to have to do what they did to Hillary to Bloomberg, and they will, and I'll help them. I actually think that Trump is going to beat him in inner cities because of the stop and frisk. So, okay. Now, the thing about Bloomberg, though, is his economic policies were never kind to blacks and Latinos. But blacks are idiots, because they're going around now and they're saying, well, he's not a bad guy. But then again, blacks are not my leaders. I'm a Puerto Rican Italian. Blacks have never been my leaders. I tell that to them in their face, and a lot of them, they understand. Don't ever mess with that Puerto Rican. Just like the Speaker of the Assembly, I will tell him in his face, you're going to change that bail reform, or you're going to be voted out. Because you see, I don't let black elected officials intimidate me. They're not my leaders. I'm a Latino. So what I tell, and I'm also Italian, so when I walk into a room, I pick apart a lot of black elected officials who think that they're going to do first of all, I know more about Martin Luther King than most of them. It's incredible. It's true. And the reason why is because I was taught as a kid. Remember, I was born when King was alive, and then in the 70s, I started watching all the documentaries. My father taught me. My father worked for a black state senator, but blacks were never my leaders. I've always said that, and I've pissed a lot of them off when I say that, but they don't mess with me. When I speak, I'm even smarter than like senators like Bailey in the Bronx, Hasty, the Assemblyman. I know more about history than them guys do. You know, I mean, you don't mess with this Puerto Rican. The reason why I let them be is because I knew they were going to get in trouble with a lot of this stuff with bail reform. But sometimes you got to let people learn on their own. And now they're like into the, on the defensive. With Bloomberg, who's going to actually buy a lot of them off. You see all these black elected officials that are for bail reform? They're going to actually take Bloomberg's money. Because they'd rather be with a racist Jew because they just want the money. Okay. But then their constituency and the Bernie Sanders supporters will probably challenge some of them. And I actually predict that. What I want people to understand is that this is a classic confrontation with the class warfare that's been going on. And right now, Bloomberg is for the rich. He is not for the poor. So when you start to look at those elected officials that are going to help Bloomberg, you got to look at the cities that they come from. If they're blacks, like I said, if they're idiots and they take his money and they don't expect a backlash, well then maybe they should be out of office. Okay? What I've noticed about black leadership is that it wants to be them. They don't want to include Latinos. That's why I don't invite, like I always tell people, if I ever became an elected official, I would not be in the Black and Puerto Rican caucus. I would be in a caucus created for Puerto Ricans, Latinos, and that's it. It probably would be Somos. Because you got to watch people. Because look at this. Queens, you got the black elected officials going with Bloomberg. Okay. But then your people were fighting for stop and frisk. They were saying that it was racist. Okay. Who are you going to be with? Because the voters are telling you one thing and then you're taking the money. So I don't get offended when I see one or two do it. I get offended when I see them do it and then they come back and they say that we don't have a right to complain about it. Well, I think it's wrong. This is what's going to happen, folks. Bloomberg is going to run. And he's trying to hit heavy in Florida. But one thing I want people to understand. Now, I had nothing to do with this. Remember, I was born as a Puerto Rican Italian. Redneck men and women, in those redneck states, okay, they're not going to vote for a Jew. I can tell you that it's just not going to happen. Now, Florida is not going to vote for a Jew either. Okay, so, when you see the money that's doing, I think what people are doing is they're taking Bloomberg's money, but what's happening is that now they're starting to realize that he's going to get in there, and now you're starting to see a lot of stuff about his corporation with the lawsuits from women. I think that the women will go against him, okay? After his Jewish ethnicity, he really doesn't have anything else to back him. See, this is the problem with him running the way it is. There are no channels in those other states. So I'm the dumb Puerto Rican from the Bronx. Okay. Now he doesn't like people like me. Okay, because I'm a spick. That's just the way it is. That's life, boy. There were Jewish teachers that used to call me a spick back in the day. Okay, they hated teaching us back in the Bronx in PS 106 because I remember. Listen, I'm a Puerto Rican. I may not be an elephant, but I never forget. Okay, and I actually get off on watching them see me walk around and do politics because I'm just going to tell you how it is. I promise you that Bloomberg is going to get annihilated, and he's going to get annihilated by the very politics that he has put on people. The same arrogance is what they're going to do. There will be no real swing vote for him. He's counting on New York, but he can actually lose the primary in New York to Sanders. It's going to be funny. But what I want people to understand is this. Politics, as we know it, This country has never, ever, and they've never elected a Hispanic president, never even came close. Okay. But they've never elected a Jewish president, too. And between him and Bloomberg, the nicer Jew is Bernie Sanders. Now, what hurts Sanders is that he goes to the extreme left. But, folks, this is going to be an incredible presidential campaign, but one that will produce another president term for Trump. You cannot have a divided party, and they are already divided. They're never going to come together because the Sanders supporters will never vote for Bloomberg. I repeat, the Sanders supporters will never vote for Bloomberg. One who said that he's against teachers, unions, he's against all unions. Michael Bloomberg is actually harsher than President Trump, believe it or not. Watch. And remember, he was an elected official. He was a politician. So if anybody doesn't think that that's not going to come back to hurt him, well, then he must be wrong, because black men should never vote for that man. That's a racist 101. He's a Jew who did not empathize with people of color. He still doesn't to this day. So when I told that, listen, I told that to a rabbi, and the rabbi said, yeah, you're right, Efrain. I don't want to say nothing, because he's not going to talk bad about Bloomberg, but he knows that he's not going to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay? I've been around, folks. Yes, my teachers growing up in school hated me for being Puerto Rican, but now they're looking the other way, and their heads are down when they see me and they see the way I've become, because I call them out on themselves. Trump will get the same states virtually if Bloomberg is the nominee. So in actuality, it would be great if Bloomberg's the nominee, because then that'll actually prove the point that I'm trying to make. And that you cannot be an arrogant billionaire and think that you're a nice guy, and then you're doing commercials where you're saying that you're going to be running against Trump without even going through a Democratic primary. And this is what I want people to understand. Trump is Trump, all right? But I predicted he was going to beat Hillary because I just saw how bad the Democrats are. The Democrats are a bad party. I'm a blue dog, but the DNC, they're just a bunch of hacks. Folks, that's not Trump's fault. I'm going to tell you another thing. You got to be careful with people like Bloomberg, because he doesn't care about anybody. All right? And he's not going to fight for America. Trump fights for America. He's crazy. He tweets, but he fights for America. The people that don't fight for America are people like Bloomberg. The people like Clinton, they're fighting for themselves. Because let me explain something. Bloomberg is very close with China. And they would love to have him in there. Because when Bloomberg was mayor, he made a lot of money when he was mayor. And he was not supposed to be part of his company. He made billions. So you have to understand that sometimes in the chart, you got to look at everything, and you got to see people for who they are. Now, the other factor here is going to be the women vote. Women will probably not go to the polls if there isn't a real woman candidate. Now, this Stacey Abrams, the black governor candidate, she's not going to get any votes for you around the country. Okay? He's going to try to play the race card, but he'll get nullified with the stop and frisk. There was talk about Hillary Clinton, but she'll probably kill him off before he even gets to November. It's a crazy, crazy election. But remember one thing, folks. The patriotic people of America is not from the DNC. They're not for America. And that's what you got to understand. Okay? So if you're going to tell people that you're for America, you cannot incorporate social, the communists. And so you got to be careful, folks, okay? Because it is what it is. Bloomberg doesn't give a damn about anybody. He could care less about a Republican working person as he does a Democrat. He doesn't give a damn. So we'll call it out as it is. I'll make sure that people understand you're not going to get a presidency if Bloomberg is on the ticket. Okay? And maybe that's the lesson that needs to happen in order for people to wake up and get back to the basics in the party. Where the Democrats blew the election was when they impeached Trump. I warned people for them not to do that. I said, if you're not going to get a conviction, don't do it, because it was political. It was only the Democrats. And then Romney, who destroyed his career, actually did that, because now he's not going to get anything with the Republicans. So those are things that you don't want to see. Politics. But once Trump didn't get convicted, that's it. He's going to get reelected, because he's going to run around and you impeached him, but you couldn't take him out. If I impeach somebody, I want to take them out. So you got a bunch of losers there. You got a bunch of people that are sore losers. I don't know why they fight for Hillary Clinton. That is a horrible candidate. Okay? So maybe we need a reset. But it's not going to happen this year, folks. Okay? I hope Bloomberg exposes all the black elected officials who are going to take his money. Because then people can go after them. Okay, because they are going to take his money. And I think that that's a good sign, so that the new blood that comes in can see what the real fight is. Got to fight the people taking the money. All right? Because they're selling out your interests. So that's all I have. I hope people do get offended by what I say, because that's my intention. And if it gets you to go out and vote in November, well, then do it, okay? I always encourage people to do the right thing. Men, pay your child support. Women, stop sleeping with men that can't pay rent, okay? A lot of Latinas do that here in the Bronx. It's incredible what I see. But at the end of the day, make sure they work. Make sure they can pay the bills, okay? Make sure that you take care of your kids' education. And make sure that you pay your bills, so that you can keep the lights on and everything, okay? So that's what you should be worrying about. Politics comes and goes, but your lives live on. Ciao.